plan is to enable us to respond to the triple problem of low exchange rate, huge unemployment, as well as negative growth, which is facing us now.
Federal Executive Council approved over 2.3 trillion naira economic intervention and sustainability fund.
President Muhammadu Buhari to attend All Progressives Congress virtual NEC meeting.
Nigeria Center for Disease Control announces 649 COVID-19 new cases, are pushing the figures to 22,220.
And on Good Morning Nigeria today, our focus is on tooling culture for national development.
Now from Argungu to Calabar, Oshobo to Kano, and indeed all around the nation, Nigeria affects and reels her cultural colors through festivals, dances, food, dress sense, and in the languages.
Yes, indeed, Kyria. Now, deeply steeped in the people's ways of life, the aforementioned and much more to define what culture means to people. Now, you can also add beliefs, values, traditions, mores, and norms. And from the spiritual to the physical, the people find total ways and manners to live their lives and make sense of their existence. This is culture.
But have you observed that there is always a fascinating pull to someone, something or someplace when people talk about or try to show you their culture? It is such a compelling attraction most times that you wish to be identified with.
Well, Kyria, in as much as I would want to agree with you on that, but there could also be the push away from it through the exhibition of some traits, from some cultural art forms and presentations. So in a way, it's either an attracting or repelling phenomenon to confront.
Now, no doubt, Kingsley, this also calls out the fact that to whatever degree of cultural mix and permission, the people and their existence manifest. Such is the degree of upliftment and growth aspect of the same culture and community.
Most certainly. Now, culture is seen primarily to be one pivotal pillar to a people's development. The sustenance and progress of societies and nations can also be linked to it.
All right, empowering the cultures as catalyst to growth has never been underestimated, whether as traditional forms, isolated values, or even when they are strong in a collective norms in the trajectory of evolution and development in Nigeria.
So, as peoples from the over 250 ethnic groups push to showcase their cultural offerings from time to time, just as we have on today's edition of Good Morning Nigeria, it's also expedient to ask how best the social, cultural, and economic performances of such communities and the nation can be appreciated in terms of growth and development. Cultures
evolve over the seasons. While some get taken over, others are certainly going into extinction. Can the prevailing cultures survive beyond their domains? What threats are there? How do we drive required growth through the many facets of our cultural lives and attitudes? I am Kyrian Umayo. Good morning and welcome to the program.
And I'm Kingsley Osadolo. I join my colleague Kyrian to also welcome you to the program. We're broadcasting live, as always, on the network service of the Nigerian Television Authority. We have the complimentary segments, and this will include business and newspaper review. For now, let's join Ann Jibuno for the highlights of the early morning news. Good morning, Ann.
Good morning, Kingsley and Kyrian. Good morning, Nigeria. Here's the morning news. The Federal Executive Council has approved over 2.3 trillion naira intervention fund towards sustaining the nation's economy. This is in response to the threat of economic downturn being faced by the country as a result of the coronavirus pandemic, as well as the crash in the price of crude oil. The Minister of Finance, Budget and International Planning, Zainab Ahmed, announced this while briefing journalists after the Council's meeting presided over by President Muhammadu Buhari.
This whole plan is to enable us to respond to the triple problem of low exchange rate, huge unemployment, as well as negative growth, which is facing us now. And the interventions that are outlined in the plan was to ensure that we prevent businesses from collapsing and also to infuse liquidity within the Nigerian economy. It's also to create jobs using labor-intensive methods such as agriculture, facility management, housing construction, direct labor interventions that will create a lot of jobs very, very quickly.
In the meantime, President Buhari has received very convincing advice on the position of the law as far as the situation in the leadership of the All Progressives Congress is concerned, and has determined that the law is on the side of Victor Giadom as acting national chairman. A statement by the special advisor, or rather, the senior special assistant to the president on media and publicity, Garba Shehu, says the president will always act in accordance with the law and, as such, will be attending today's virtual meeting to be convened by Victor Giadom. The statement also urged the media to stop promoting controversies and not give any further room for mischievous interpretations of the law on this matter. The meeting by Giadom is also expected to be attended by APC governors and the leadership of the National Assembly. Meanwhile, the Federal High Court sitting in Port Harcourt has struck out the case instituted by a PDP governorship aspirant, Omorege Obeide Ihama, challenging the participation of Edo State Governor Godwin Obaseki in the Edo State primary election scheduled for this month. This followed the out-of-court settlement by the parties in the suit. Justice Emmanuel Obile struck out the suit following the application for withdrawal of the case by the lead counsel to the plaintiff, Donald Demwige SAN. The PDP governorship primaries hold today in Edo State.
Plaintiff in the matter, in the interest of the party, as a faithful party man, has agreed to withdraw the case from court. So what that means is that Governor Obaseki, who joined our party last week, is going to be an aspirant.
The claimants withdrew the case and the suit was subsequently struck out by the court. So what that means is that there is no impediment stopping the governor of Edo State from taking part in the primary election.
Away from political matters, the Nigeria Center for Disease Control, NCDC, has announced 649 new cases of COVID-19 in the country. The latest figure, released late last night, now adds up the total number to 22,020 cases in the country. In the breakdown of the new cases, Lagos State recorded the highest of the day with 250 cases, while Oyo has 100 cases. Plateau and Delta recorded 40 each, Abia 28, Kaduna 27, Ogun 22, Edo 20, Akwa Ibom 18, while Kwara and FCT got 17 each. Enugu 14, Niger and Adamawa 13 each, Bayelsa 7, Osun and Bauchi 6 each, Anambra 4, Gombe 3, Sokoto 2, Imo and Kano recorded 1 new case each. In the top 5, Lagos State remains the epicenter of COVID-19 in Nigeria with 9,323 cases, followed by the FCT, which has 1,622. Kano is now third with 1,191. Oyo now has 1,155, while Rivers has now recorded a total of 930 cases. 7,613 patients have been treated and discharged, with 542 deaths on record so far. And the Nigeria Center for Disease Control is facilitating the release of a $100 million grant from the World Bank to strengthen public health infrastructure across 36 states of the country, as well as the FCT. The collaboration, which received the endorsement of the Nigeria Governors Forum, is at different stages of completion of the World Bank criteria.
We have come to that realization that we have to invest in our health security architecture. And we can't do that just from Abuja. We have to do that at the state and even at the local government levels.
But we also appreciate that this additional funding is a big responsibility. Please don't see us as a banker, see us as a partner.
We also want to make sure that we build our own institutions in a manner that we can respond without having to wait till when NCDC comes down to us.
And that concludes the news highlights for now. Good Morning Nigeria continues with Kingsley and Kirian after this break.
I just don't understand this coronavirus thing. Is it real?
See, coronavirus, known as COVID-19, it's a global problem and has killed thousands of people in China, Italy, Spain, UK, US, and other countries around the world.
Okay. Now, why are they saying that we should stay home?
Because if you go outside and get in contact with someone who is infected, you become infected and then come back home, affect your family. That's how it happens in other countries.
Now, please, help me explain what this social distance is all about.
See, as we are now, the virus travels through the air and by touch. We must maintain 6 foot distance at all times.
Oh. So it's not by washing my hands with soap and water or hand sanitizer that is only important?
Washing of our hands regularly is very important. But we must come together and fight this virus like we did Ebola. It is our responsibility to each other.
The main way coronavirus spread is when infected people sneeze and cough. Small droplets of fluid expelled by cough or sneezes are laced with viruses looking for new respiratory tracts to infect. When a sick person sneezes around someone who is healthy, the virus can land in the nose, mouth, or even the eyes, causing an infection. Symptoms can include fever, cough, shortness of breath. Symptoms may appear within 2 to 14 days. Seek medical advice if you develop symptoms and have been in close contact with a person known to have COVID-19, or if you live or have recently been in an area with ongoing spread of COVID-19. This message is brought to you by the Nigerian Television Authority, NTA, Africa's largest television network. In this time of despair, our country, Nigeria, needs us now more than ever. We stand a chance to save our great country, Nigeria. A chance to rise up from this pandemic stronger and better. What will be the gain if we do not learn from other countries and observe the lockdown to stop the further spread of the virus? If we loosen our guards and allow this virus doom our very existence, then what have we gained? This is the call to every Nigerian to unite as one and stop the spread of this deadly virus. Stay at home and stay safe. Remember, the virus doesn't move unless we move. This message is brought to you by the Nigerian Television Authority, NTA, Africa's largest television network.
Do you not know that our enemies have no face? They are indigents of no state. They come from no place. And if this boat capsizes, every one of us will go under. So when the drums sound, let everybody answer. Do not say, I am the Iroko when the forest is burning. Do not say, I am the Obeche when the forest is burning. Our differences will not stop us from perishing together. So when the drums sound, let everybody answer.
We have observed the lockdown. We have practiced the measures in order to curb the spread of the virus, but we can do better. The coronavirus spread is increasing daily, and only together can we cut down the numbers and defeat the spread of the virus? Remember, COVID-19 is not a death sentence, and a recovered patient cannot spread the disease. Do not stigmatize. Do not hesitate to report any case or if you have come in contact with anybody that has been infected with COVID-19. If you have cough and fever, please stay at home and call your state hotline. Find state numbers at www.covid19.ncdc.gov.ng. Remember, it is for your own good and for the good of every Nigerian. Let us do better and defeat the virus. Together, we can do this. This message is brought to you by the Nigerian Television Authority, NTA, Africa's largest television network.
We're here for small businesses, the local entrepreneurs. We're here for the smiles, the good times, for those who would come from far. Put your business on the map with Visa. Where you shop matters.
You're watching Good Morning Nigeria, reaching you on the network service of the Nigerian Television Authority. Now it's time for business news, and here is our correspondent, Kunle Adeyeye.
Agriculture, being a sector that can spark economic boom, has received attention from government in the past 5 years. This has eventually led to employment generation, while government also believes it is pivotal to actualizing the economic diversification agenda. Now that COVID-19 has taken toll on economies, agriculture has been seen as a sector that can help stabilize the economy if it receives proper funding.
First, when you are allocating projects, budget by the Federal Ministry of Finance, they should go much to agriculture, second to water resources development, third to ministries and departments that are going to add value to the economy and generate, since oil is no more going to be important.
And next are the details of Wednesday's tradings on the floor of the Nigerian Stock Exchange. With business news, I'm Kunle Adeyeye.
Many thanks, Kunle, for that report. And of course, up ahead is newspaper review.
Newspaper reviewer Bayo Atoyebe is here with us in the studios for today's edition of the segment. Bayo, good morning and welcome.
Thank you, Kinsley. Good morning. Good morning, Kyria.
Good morning, Bayo. All right. We'll begin with a Nigerian pilot. Bayelsa cries out for federal government's interventionist programs on page 7. COVID-19 a sham. We stand by our story. A Nigerian pilot. That's on page 5. Federal government probes Magu, set up 5-man panel to probe EFCC boss over alleged fraud. NSA, Buhari, COS, DSS, DG, 2 others are members. A probe emanating from AGF's letter seeking Magu's removal. Stories on page 8. Now, demolition, Nigeria will not engage in street fight with Ghana, says the presidency. INEC will obey competent court orders on party primaries on page 6. Now, customs award 191 contracts worth 1 billion naira in one day on page 33. Former lawmakers, Right Buhari, call for truce in APC crisis on page 9. 3 female suspects arrested with over 801 rounds of live ammunition. That's on page 5. Wema Bank approved 750 million naira or dollars for Nigeria's power sector recovery. That's on page 32. That's all, Kinsley.
Okay, let's take a look at the leadership. Leadership says transparency, that's the kicker. AFDB, African Development Bank, ranks 4th among 47 global development institutions. And World Bank approves $750 million for Nigeria's power sector. Why I want to meet President Muhammadu Buhari That's according to Bashali. Bashali, of course, is a boxer. He's been looking to set a record that will get into the Guinness Book of Records. Now he's 64 years old. So why I want to meet President Muhammadu Buhari, details of that story you find at page 30. But yeah, I hope this is not some comedy. But let's take a look at the lead story. The lead story says, end in sight for APC crisis as President Muhammadu Buhari backs Giadom with a number of riders, Progressive Governance Forum's DG and former reps queue behind president, seek constitutional review. Bulama kicks as neck holds today. Attack cries out, says thugs after me. That's on page 4 in greater detail. And another political story there beside the photograph says Edo governorship. Coast now clear for Obaseki as 2,229 delegates choose PDP candidate today. 2 riders. Party dissolves South Caretaker Committee, and PDP in dilemma over Ondo Deputy Governor's ambition. And right at the foot of the front page, Nigeria will engage Ghana in street fight over demolition. Kieran already read that, and that's attributed to the presidency. We welcome Hajj 2020 cancellation in good faith. That's attributed to the Hajj Commission. COVID-19, face shield alone can't provide protection. NCDC warns. Canadian and Belgian firms bid for Cross River Bakassi Deep Sea Port Project. And Delta recalls 156 divorce cases in 3 months. Page 15. Bayo.
Let's start with the reaction from the presidency that Nigeria will not engage in street fight. It is an illustration of reactions coming from Nigerians calling for retaliation about the crude demolition of a building in Nigerian premises. It's just like an imagery. A man went to the river to have his bath, he removed his clothes. Then a madman comes, take away his clothes. Is he going to run after him naked? You have 2 madmen running on the street. Apparently, that puts that one at rest. On the economy, Federal Executive Council has approved 2.3 trillion naira to support Nigeria economy in the face of disruption caused by COVID-19. The Minister for Finance gave a background. He said the goal is to plan to create jobs, inject money into the economy, and also hopefully stop the economy into sliding into deep recession. The initiative will support small businesses and also provide substantial local content. It will also ensure that if at all we go into recession, it will be what is described as a V-shaped recession, going briefly and come out of it. On the other hand, the World Bank has approved $750 million to support Nigeria's initiative, particularly in the area of power. This is to support the Nigeria power sector recovery operation. The intervention fund is intended to achieve financial and fiscal sustainability and to enhance accountability in Nigeria's power sector. Presently, 47% of Nigeria do not have power, and it is believed that if that initiative is improved, about 2% of Nigeria's gross domestic product, put to about 28 billion, will help improve, will be improved with the power initiative. COVID-19, well, Nigeria has registered 22,020 cases, and we have lost 542 persons to date. This is equal to the 649 cases reported yesterday in 22 states and 9 deaths. Lagos still toppled the rest with 250, but other states are beginning to record high cases. Oyo 100, Plateau and Delta had 40 each, Abia had 28, Kaduna had 27. And in fact, Kaduna State Governor has immediately reacted. Kaduna State Governor has warned that it may be compelled to impose another lockdown if residents continue to ignore COVID-19 protocols. As at yesterday, Kaduna has tested 5,446 persons. 608 of them have tested positive. There are 286 that are active cases, and there have been 14 deaths. Governor Nasru El-Rufai says that if we get to a level that the infection rate will overwhelm our health system and the health workers, we will lock down again. So he said he will be very reluctant to lock down, but we will all help ourselves if we continue to abide by the COVID-19 protocols. In Cross River State, there are concerns expressed by the Nigerian Medical Association, whose president, Dr. Agam Ayuk, says that accredited testing centers in Cross River State are low and far-fetched in between. His northern counterpart, Efyong, says the system standards are dipping and they are all worried. However, the Commissioner for Health for Cross River State, Dr. Bita Edu, says that there are claims about deaths, which include 2 nurses and 1 member of the State House of Assembly. And they are alleged that the increase in deaths between January and June this year. And he says that records do not lie. Records shows that over the years, the deaths between January and June every year, the year 2020 is lower than the previous years. Therefore, she's arguing that it is only a false alarm that is ongoing.
I was just wondering, Kirian and Bayo, yesterday we were talking about the schools reopening and the conditions that have been set by the Honorable Minister of State for Education. Today, of course, you have a report. It's not on the front page of the leadership newspaper. It's at page 17. And I'm just curious about some of the conditions that have been specified for schools to reopen. One, it says that each school is required to create temporary isolation spaces and fully equipped clinics before reopening. On what basis do you ask schools to have fully equipped clinics? Schools usually have sick bays.
You have sick bays.
Sick bays. And then
health centers.
Health center.
With 1 nurse attending to students.
Yeah, but not in recent times, though, because we've not seen that in a very long time. Over about 30 years now, we've not had schools where you have such infrastructure or facilities. It's very difficult to find, especially the secondary and primary school levels.
No, what I'm saying is, why would you? What is the checklist for a clinic? And that for each school to reopen, they must have fully equipped clinics. Now, who's going to provide the budgetary
centers?
Yes.
In schools?
In schools.
Who is going to man such facilities?
I'm just wondering. So I think that, in as much as we are trying to be careful so that there is no resurgence or the so-called second or third wave, some of these conditions will tend to give the impression that perhaps we're not ready to reopen the schools just yet. I'm just.
Yes, on the political scene now, President Muhammadu Buhari is to attend the National Executive Committee meeting called by the Federal High Court Directed Chairman, that is Victor Gaidam, Senior Special Assistant to the President on Publicity. Garba Shehu will say that the law is on the side of the Gaidam National Chairman. President, he said, had received very convincing advice on the position of the law. The President will act in accordance with the law. He, however, appealed to the media that the media should stop promoting manufactured controversies and not give room for mischievous interpretations of the law. Well, the media has a role of surveillance of the environment.
Exactly.
It is what is there in the environment that we show to the public, and then we leave the public to make their informed judgments. Yeah. Don't blame the messenger. Always look at the message. Meanwhile, members of the National Working Committee led by Hilary Ita have called upon governors and others not to attend because they argue that the meeting that it was called can only be called by the National Working Committee or the National Executive Council. On the PDP primaries that you talked about, Port Harcourt High Court had secured out-of-court settlement, which has now provided green light for Governor Obaseki to participate in the primaries taking place today. But in Ondo State, Daily Trust is reporting that INEC has rejected the notice of governorship primaries given by the All Progressive Congress in Ondo State. INEC says that the July 20th of the APC fixed for the primary of the governorship election was not jointly signed by the national chairman and national secretary of the political party.
Okay. Well, as we said, we will allow the parties to sort themselves out.
Yes.
And whatever matters arising, we'll take a look at them. Let's consider the editorial for this morning, and it's taken from the Nation newspaper at page 15. It says, The Good Shepherd. The editorial says in part that at the Air Force Secondary School in Shasha, Lagos, the Nigerian Air Force named a newly built 500 capacity assembly hall after the late Reverend Sister Henrietta Aloha, who was the administrator of the Bethlehem Girls College, Abule Ado, Lagos, and lost her life on the 15th of March this year as she struggled to save her students trapped under the collapsed school buildings after a gas explosion. The editorial says that this singular choice by the Nigerian Air Force is so emotionally gratifying and for a long time stand as a metaphor of what monuments ought to represent. Monuments, the editorial adds, are meant rather for the best amongst us and not a reward for wealth or dubiously acquired fame and fortune.
Yes, one cannot agree with the editorial less in the sense that the Chief of Air Staff gave instructions for that assembly to be named after the late Reverend Sister, and it is very appropriate. An institution, assembly, where students will gather for activities every day, and that assembly is meant to immortalize the selfless sacrifice of the Reverend Sister. Reverend Sister Henrietta has written her name in gold in the hearts of her students, and I think forever and ever they will ever remember her, because her selfless sacrifice was to have gone back into the collapsed building to rescue her students. Unfortunately, she paid the highest supreme sacrifice for it, and she succeeded in saving not one single student was killed in that explosion. So we support the initiative by Nigerian Air Force, and such should be emulated when ordinary Nigerians, simple ordinary Nigerians provide this kind of exemplary leadership. They should be recognized and given such honors.
All right, I would like to thank you for your analysis for today. We hope to see you again tomorrow.
Thank you.
This is Good Morning Nigeria and the network service of the NTA. Stay with us as the program returns after this break.
Coronavirus, also known as COVID-19, is spreading at an alarming rate all over the globe, including Nigeria. With the number of infected persons in Nigeria increasing daily, prevention is better than cure. Coronavirus has no cure. The virus spreads from one person who affects two persons, and by the time the affected person is isolated, the two persons have affected four, and it keeps spreading. You must take preventive measures to save yourself and that of the people around you. Always wash your hands with soap and water. Put distance between yourself and others. Whenever you cough or sneeze, cover your mouth. Clean and disinfect surfaces. Stay at home if you're sick and contact the proper authorities. Together, we can cut down the spread of the coronavirus. This message is brought to you by the Nigerian Television Authority, NTA, Africa's largest TV network.
Today on Happy Clean Niger Mission, we visit Mrs. Johnson live in Lagos.
Ah, Helen Paul.
Hello, madam. Would you like to join us on this mission?
Yes, but how?
Just one question for you. How do you keep your toilet clean?
I use regular detergent and bleach for washing and removing yellow stains. I have been using it for years.
Oh, madam, the regular detergents and bleach are used for washing clothes. To clean your toilet properly, you need Harpic 10X. It is specially made for stains in the toilet. Harpic Thick formula settles on stains and gives 10 times better cleaning compared to regular detergents and bleach.
Wow, now I'm convinced, Helen Paul.
Really?
Yeah.
Now that she's part of the mission, the next house is yours.
Shegun. Alpha, say tomorrow still day on.
What's your tomorrow?
Community meeting now.
You know they here, Abi?
Now beggy. See, if we meet for my house, inside parlor, then go no.
This COVID-19 is not a child's play.
If we want to elect a new secretary, we fit to
do one for WhatsApp, or for Skype, or even on Zoom. Or we just wait.
I will not negotiate
this social distancing. It is non-negotiable.
Not every infected person shows symptoms, but every infected person is contagious. Avoid large gatherings and self-isolate if you think you might have come in contact with a carrier. Your safety and the safety of others is in your hands.
This message is from the Akinfade Foundation in partnership with the National Orientation Agency with support from MacArthur Foundation.
Coronavirus is real. Steps to avoid this pandemic. Wash your hands regularly. or sanitize your hands. Keep social and physical distancing. Avoid crowded places. Stay at home unless absolutely necessary. Don't touch your eyes, nose, or mouth if your hands are not clean. Avoid the spread of coronavirus. Coronavirus is real.
There is a lot of fake news and report circulating, especially on social media, on the coronavirus. Do not believe or partake in the spread of these fake reports. If it is not on the official website or news from the Nigerian Center for Disease Control, NCDC, disregard such report. Only together can we beat this virus. Only together can we overcome this pandemic. Follow the instructions and guidelines provided to combat this virus. Most importantly, stay at home. Self-isolate, regardless of your status. The virus doesn't move unless we move. Let us work together to better Nigeria. Together, we can do this. This message is brought to you by the Nigerian Television Authority, NTA, Africa's largest television network.
It's Good Morning Nigeria, reaching you live on the network service of the Nigerian Television Authority. Now, to set the tone for our conversation this morning, which is on tooling culture for national development, let's listen into this background put together by our correspondent, Abdul Malik Adio.
Nigeria, with our multicultural communities, is a nation endowed with lots of cultural heritage. But then, in recent times, the contemporary status of most Nigerian cultural forms, both material and non-material, is best described endangered. Experts say efforts at preserving this heritage are obstructed with daunting challenges ranging from human activities such as trafficking, illegal export of Nigerian art, theft, vandalism, and looting of museums, among others. Hence, the clarion call for its preservation due to the avalanche of prospect derived from a historical and archaeological account of the Nigerian cultural overview. Experts are also of the opinion that the role of culture in creating green jobs, reducing poverty, and making cities more sustainable in preserving the natural resources such as forest and strengthening the resilience of communities in the face of disaster are irreplaceable. This, they say, underscores the tremendous efforts and achievement till date, greatly influenced by the culture of kindness, hard work, self-determination, unity, common purpose, as well as arts, music, movies, dance, cuisines, and firm traditional values, evident in weddings, festivals, and harvest celebrations, interwoven in our overall cultural identity. What is the level of policing and collaboration with UNESCO on heritage sites in Nigeria? How documented are Nigerians' artifacts? How should state festivals of art be revamped to address issues of growth and development? Guests on Good Morning Nigeria will prefer answers shortly as we examine the place of culture in national development.
Now, joining us in the studio is the Director General, National Council for Arts and Crafts, Otumba, Arts and Culture, Otumba Olusegun Ronshowe. Sir, welcome to the program.
Thank you very much.
And also with us here is Senator Baba Zuruk, the Damasani Pategi. It's a pleasure also to have you here in the studio, sir.
Thank you very much, and good morning, Nigerians.
Okay. Also in the studios here with us this morning is Honorable Baba Shehu Agai, Wakinlen Agai. Honorable, pleasure to have you with us on the program this morning.
Thank you, and good morning, Nigerians.
And joining us via Skype, Professor Awam Menegbe is a professor of theater arts. I hope I got the inflection of your name right. professor at Prince Abubakar Aldo University in Ayimba, Kogi State. Prof, pleasure to have you with us on the program this morning.
Thank you very much. Good morning, Nigeria.
Well, let's begin the conversation with Prof. Kirian. Now that the Skype connection is clear. Prof, I mean, our focus this morning is on the nexus between culture and national development. But usually, beyond festivals, dances, and weddings and all of that, what exactly is culture that we should be conscious of in discussing national development?
Thank you very much for that question. The culture is the basis of all the human actions and inactions that we take, because culture is the sum total of the way and manner people live their lives. Culture has to do with the way we bring up our children, the way we marry, the way we eat, the way we drink, the way we cultivate, the way we go about our economy, the way we go about politics. So everything has to do with culture, because culture is the unit of measurement of all the actions of human beings. And culture is so important that it permeates all aspects of our lives. We have the material culture and we have the immaterial culture. Because of the way we do our things, we have evolved equipment, we have evolved tools that will make us to carry out this assignment in a more comfortable manner. Transportation is part of culture. Language is an important ingredient of culture, and you cannot talk about development except you have spoken about how people are doing their things. Then when you're talking about development, you're beginning to talk about how to improve upon those things that are being done. For example, in our homes, we have cooking utensils that help us to cook our food that we eat. We have cutleries that helps us to eat the food. Even the food combination is culture-based. So without culture, there is no man. And without man, there cannot be development. So culture is the indices, a very, very important indices for development. If you say people are moving forward, if you say people are improving upon the way they are doing things, then we have to know exactly how do they used to do these things. How do they celebrate their old? How do they bury their dead? How do they receive their young ones into the world? How do they dress? Even their mode of dressing is part of culture. What we wear, what we eat, how we build our houses is part of culture. How we go about the issues of ruling ourselves is part of culture. Inheritance is part of culture. How do we treat the widows is part of culture. So in doing all this, our belief system is also part of culture. What we believe in. What is our religion? Religion is part of culture. So if we want to talk about development, we have to start from the point of culture. Who we are is culture. How we do our things is culture. The things we use in doing those things that we do is culture. So culture is a very, very fundamental indices of development. It is from how we are doing things that we now move forward to how we want them to be done in a better way. And that is why when we're talking about development, the key thing is culture. Because who are you developing? You are developing the people. Why are you developing them? So that they will be able to do things easier and better. So culture is very key in discussing development. And you cannot actually speak about development until you have established the basis of that development. You have established the basis of that movement forward. You have established the basis for improving the way you do what you do, be it in religion, be it in the way you turban, or the way your kings emerge, be it the way that you give out your child to another man for marriage, or be it the way that you cultivate your crops that you eat, be it the way that you worship your God. They are all aspects of culture, and they are very important. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you indeed. And back to Abuja here. There is a man that has been identified with culture for a very long time, and he has practically shown that he is also part of culture, and he believes in promoting it. And that's Director General of National Council for Arts and Culture, Otumba Olusegun Ranshewa. Let's have a background from you, looking at Nigeria's culture. I'm sure you have traversed throughout the nook and cranny of Nigeria, and you understand the cultural differences of different regions of this country. So let's share that with you, and let's see how we can also find a common place, cultural, common place in our cultural disposition.
Thank you very much, Karen. Let me first and foremost thank the NTA family. There cannot be a better time to discuss our culture. It's part of what today is making us not to respect each other, not to appreciate each other. To me, this morning, I'd like to make it very clear. Culture is the biggest secret, the untapped secret that can unite this country better and give us economical strength. Unfortunately, for a very long time, we've been keeping our culture as if we believe in other culture, other part of the world, where we come with different things that are not known to us. I'm happy this morning that the professor that spoke first talked about material culture and immaterial ones. You see, recently the oil price dropped and everybody was panicked. Honestly, what the secret remaining for Nigerian to quickly tap into is the benefit of culture. If you go to the airport now and you want to pass checks, nobody asks you, you can drop your telephone, drop your shoe, drop your jacket, but you can never drop your culture. It's personal, and it remains with you for life. And that is why I said, oil is good, but culture is better. Because oil is exhaustible, but culture is inexhaustible. Remain with us forever as our personal identity. Unfortunately, for a very long time, we have imbibed other people's culture. We have taken things that are not ours, and we are paying dearly for it today. Imagine, in the recent time, we hear of rape cases. This is not part of our culture. It's not part of us. But unfortunately, we are now hearing them. Only last week, the Inspector General of Police announced 717 rape cases. Those are the ones reported within just 4 months. It's not part of our culture. And also, I'd like to mention this morning that if you see a lot of us come back, we try to change our tongue from our motherland language. Culture is about us as a people, what brings us together. And if you also look at what we experienced recently, Nigerians are now jumping into lagoon, suicide mission. It's not part of our culture. But some of these things, we need to get the opinion leaders, the traditional rulers, to help us to have a sense of mobilizing and communicating with our people. Our culture is rich. We have a very rich culture. I'd like to share this morning. Some 6 Americans visited Nigeria, and we took them to the Alaki of Egbaland. When we got there, we all spread on the ground. They say, what happened? Because they've never seen that before. But this is our own culture. People from the Nupe land, Niger State, from a distance, they will stand kneeling down, greeting an elder to show a sign that, look, our culture is it. But today, people don't do all these things. So we need a very strong platform for us to sit down, integrate what brings us up as a people. And I believe in the course of this discussion, I'll be unveiling some very new strategy vis-a-vis COVID-19. to develop the culture sector and the industry. I will really do that in course of this program. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you, Otumba Segun Rushewe, for your opening statement. Let's bring in now Senator Baba Zuruk, who is the Dan Mansanin Pategi, as my colleague Kirian earlier introduced him. We're still exploring the amplitude of the essence of culture as being the identity of a people. I mean, for a country like ours, and indeed most modern countries, there is no uniformity of culture. But there are commonalities in the various cultures that we have across the countries, part of which Arushawe has been taken off. Now, but tell us, what's your reading today of Nigeria? And are we sufficiently channeling our cultural attributes into national development?
Thank you very much. Very, very important question. And by giving you the right answer, I will try to marry and bring in on board our own typical Nupe Cultural Association. That is the Nupe Foundation. You see, the Nupe Foundation is a non-political, social, cultural organization that brought all the Nupes together. Nupes from Kwara, from Niger, and Kogi, and in diaspora. Now, if you look at the structure, we decided to bring on board, first and foremost, the objectives. When you bring in the objectives, we try to realize what benefit will derive from the objectives for the entire members of the foundation and for the country. One, we decided to also, by making it very, very clear, the structure, so as to make it very, very known to everybody. Now, we have the Elders Council, for example, which is right up there, comprising of all the traditional rulers from the 3 principal states that comprise Nupe Kingdom, with the Nupe Etu-Nupe as the grand patron, with all the other traditional rulers from Patigi, Lafiagi, Shonga, Kogi, Basange, Age, Lapai as the patrons. But the grand patron is Etu-Nupe. Now, the Elders Council is the biggest decision body. However, underneath it, we have the Board of Trustees, headed by a retired Major General Idris Garba, who is the Waziri of Lapai. Now, in all of this, we try to bring in the essence of Nupe culture to fit into all the cultural essence of Nigerian tribes. And we realize that we are almost all the same when it comes to African culture, in particular Nigerian culture. Respect, social behavior, upbringing of children, how we relate in terms of marriages, and so forth. Thank you very much.
All right, sir. Thank you indeed. Now let's turn to Professor of Theatre Arts, Prince Boubacar Audu of University Ayimba, Kogi State. All right, okay, he is on via Skype. Okay, I think we should be going to our next guest here in the studio, and that's who is also here with us. So let me ask you this. Nigeria has different cultures and over 250 languages spoken in this country. And to live as a people, there is this difficulty in each region understanding the culture of the other region. And when people must live together as a nation like we are, what are those important aspects of attitude that can necessitate coexistence in a cultural mix?
Thank you very much, Mr. Keren. Indeed, like the immediate speaker just told us, we, the Nupe speaking, we are celebrating our Nupe Day tomorrow. And as you know it, when you talk of culture, Nupe is our culture. And in Nupe, our kingdom,
we have the East and West Nupes. The East Nupes are Age, Lapai, Bida, and the West is Patigi, Dafiagi, Tsonga, and the South. Types of our culture. One, like what I'm wearing here. This is education of Nupi for Nupi Kingdom. You have red here. This red stands for the boldness and doggedness of Nupi speaking. Because there was never a time, even in the colonial days, we were captured and conquered by the colonial masters. I could remember vividly when we fought them.
The colonial invaders.
It out. Another culture we had conspicuously is our mode of eating, the food stuff. We have what we call tuwo. We used to eat with bean soup. That is very, very peculiar to Nupe diet. And this was equally encouraged by our location, which is at the banks of their homes and even at export level. Then the blue stands for the river. Like I rightly said now, all the newspaper speaking, most of them are about the river banks. So most of them are fishers and farmers. And like we are saying, staying by the river banks give us the opportunity of growing a lot of rice. In fact, the newspaper speaking alone can feed the whole nation if we are to maintain rice as a staple food. Nupe culture again. Now, pull up his shoes, at times even bring up his cap, and respect that person that is elderly. So, habit-wise, we are cordial and responsible. Symbol of dressing. In Nupe land, we have our own mode of dressing that if you see any Nupe man coming, you identify that person as a Nupe man. We have our own caps, we have our own regalia, and even the slippers with Nupe identity. Now, religion. The Nupes, most of the Nupes are either Christian or Muslim. And this is part of their beliefs that they hold on to from beginning up to now, and even, if possible, up to the end. Now we come to the green. The green is very, very symbolic of agriculture. Into other arable farmings like cassava, sorghum, millet, maize, and what have you. So they have a lot of agricultural produce that, if harnessed, can go international. And when next maybe I may address the issue, we need to industrialize all these agricultural opportunities by provision of cottage feed mill, rice mill, maize mill, cassava mill, and what have you. Thereby, we can export and satisfy our demands.
All right, thank you very much, Honorable Babashehu Agai. Let's return to Professor Awam Menegbe via Skype from Lokoja. I'll introduce him as a professor of theater arts at Prince Audu Abubakar University in Kogi State. Prof, I mean, following from some of the comments that have been made, including your own opening salvo, give us a sense, again, in terms of what exactly we've been experiencing. Namely, there's a clear recognition that education is one of the potent modes of cultural transmission. Have we sufficiently welded our cultural traits and educational modes and systems to ensure that we're able to achieve national development?
Thank you very much. Education is for transmission of knowledge from generation to generation. We also have our own system of education, which is not school-based traditionally. But when the unfortunately, our culture as a people was not given any, or they were not, our culture was not given sufficient encouragement or exposure or transmission. What happened was that people were made to understand and believe that the best way to do things is to do it the way the colonial masters were doing, thereby jettisoning our own way of doing things, which we have already established is our culture. How do we farm? How do we feed ourselves? How do we communicate with ourselves? It was taken to the extreme, especially in religion and music, and even in our mode of dressing, that all the way that we have been doing our things before, we were made to understand that they are not good, and they are even fetish. Therefore, when you see a traditional musician, from the perspective of the Western education, is a fetish person. Whereas he is entertaining his people based on his culture. With due respect to the colonialists, I think the worst thing that they did to us is to deculture us and derobe us and, make us to become naked. And then they now robed us in their own culture. So you see a young man or a young lady who has been to the urban areas and he comes back and begins to look down on the way that his or her people do things. Whereas, what the education ought to have been was to enhance positively and encourage the way and manner we do our things. I want to give an example, which is a very popular one globally. You look at the Indians, anywhere they are found on planet Earth, no matter the weather, they will dress exactly as Indians. And you know that, oh, these are Indians. I'm happy that one of our elder statesmen in the studio there with you spoke about the fact that when you see a Nupe man, simply from the way he's dressed, you will know that he's from Nupe land. And these attributes, we were robbed of them. and our brains were how do I say, intoxicated with Western way of doing things, such that if you want to look like one who has been properly exposed, what we were taught in school was to wear a suit and a tie. And when you appear in our own cultural ways, it seemed to them as if you don't belong. It is a big disservice. Like our elder statesman was talking about tuwon shinkafa and a bean soup. It's a kind of food, a cuisine that a Nupe man anywhere in the world will be attracted to any time of the day. How do we preserve our dead? Empowerment did not start with the Western culture. I was privileged to be in Egypt a few years ago, and when I saw how they preserved their dead, I remember that we even know that civilization started from Africa. But that civilization was truncated by the way we're educated. We're educated to look down upon ourselves and the ways by which we carry out our own living. So education has been a big disservice. So what are we supposed to do now? There should be a paradigm shift from the way we were educated by the colonialists to the way we should educate ourselves now. And I think that is happening, but we need more of that. We cannot continue to look down on.
Well, we seem to have lost contact with Prof. We'll return to him when our engineers are able to rectify the glitches there. Now, back to Abuja here, where we have Otumba Ronshaw. Now, Prof has spoken so well about how we are, how do I put it, how we decided to go Western, because of the colonial experience, that we had. But the point is that after so many decades of being colonized, our people still seem to be tilted towards Western culture in terms of dressing, in terms of even training of their children. An average Nigerian prefers to send his or her children abroad for education, for instance, knowing full well that when they return, they will come back, say, with Western culture. So, and these are the younger generation of Nigerians. So it means that, we will continue, to live, just like the white man. Now, what can stop it? What is the role of fathers, parents, and even the custodians of our culture, being the traditional rulers in all parts of this country? What should be their role in ensuring that we'll sustain our own culture and market our culture? If you watch some of these movies, television outfits like Z World, that's Indian culture. When my family watches, I said, look, these people are imbibing Indian culture, and they created that purposely to market their culture.
Well, thank you very much, Karen. Let me first and foremost, I'm going to specially invite Prof to our next program. Maybe Prof has not been in touch to the recent realities of what is happening in Nigeria. In 1970, after the Civil War, there was an agreement that what can bring back Nigerians? No victor, no vanquish. In terms of reconnecting to the people, in terms of reorganizing the people, in terms of making the people believe in themselves. And that was what brought about NAFES. NAFES is the festival that unites the nation. In NAFES, you bring every traditional content, the brand quality of every segment of this country, right on the platform. And winners emerge. Unfortunately, maybe Prof may not be aware. I've been in the vanguard of making sure Nigerian culture comes first anywhere I go in the world. Now, a lot of Nigerians now believe more. Like Prof mentioned, the one they are look for the rashes. You talked about the Indian culture. Do you know in Dubai today that they are long white gown with the white stuff on their head? Even bank officials use it. I once made effort to speak to Nigerian banking community. Enough of suits. For instance, Nigerians buy over 35% of suits produced in the big companies all over the world. Whereas later we said we have problem in this country. What are we doing to our tailors? Even schools that you mentioned, some schools import their school uniforms. And it's like a symbol. My son, my daughter goes to the school, our uniform is from England, etc. Excuse me, the time has come. We must respect our culture. We must believe in ourselves. It's complex for you to believe you must do something to be seen as the other person. The beginning of progress and development is respect for our culture. If we don't do that, then we're in a big problem. For instance, I would like to mention on this program, because of COVID-19, Nigeria will be the first country to organize a festival of arts, which is coming up in Plateau State in October, God willing. It will be 100% COVID-19 protocols. You are going to watch theater inside the comfort of your car. No country in Africa has attempted it. But I'm proud to tell the people of Nigeria that we'll be the first to come up with it. Others can learn from us. But let me quickly tell you this, Korea. You know the problem? We have devalued ourselves. Unfortunately, the prof took it to another level. The value in says that even if you appear in a program now, somebody will ask you, you're not putting on suits, you're not looking too good. Who said so? The beauty of Nigeria is our culture, our art, our craft. I'll also tell you this today. A Nigerian festival will be coming up. You will see people wearing foreign attires, foreign things. People coming from abroad don't want to see that. What they want to see is your strength of your cultural content, which is missing. So to me, I'm using this opportunity that Prof should be in Plateau State. Anybody who knows Governor Lalong knows he's a man of his word. We're going to have the best and first ever in-car drive-in theater play, which will be first of its kind. What I'm trying to say is, we don't have to wait for anybody to give us the lead. We have taken the lead. And we're going to do this. Every Nigerian will be very proud of these new innovations coming up. So to me, I'm appealing once again to Nigerians, particularly parents. Let me give you an example. A male child is putting on earring, and the mother is the one that will buy the earring. And they will even be discussing, do you know my son's earring look better than your own? For God's sake, a time has come. We talk of rape cases. We talk of acid being put on wife or husband. These are not part of our culture, our borrowed culture. So to me, we need to quickly, maybe NTA will give us another opportunity to go in depth into this.
No, you already have the opportunity. That's what we are exploiting now. Let's bring in again Senator Ahmed Babazuruk. You know, I mean, from the various contributions, I'm sure our viewers can pick out the strands and see the connection to national development, whether the material or the non-material aspects of culture. But if we're focusing on cultural revival or cultural renaissance in order to help catalyze national development. Tell us, what should be the proper role of the older generation influencing the younger generation? And in terms of doing that, is this an individual, well, of course, it cannot possibly be on an individual basis. What would be the role of associations and other groupings as champions and custodians of culture?
Thank you very much. This is a very fantastic question. And again, I will still have to borrow or go back to Nupe Foundation.
Because you are a Nupe man, I will borrow from Edo when I'm ready.
You see, when our grand patron, Etunupe Alaji Yahaya Abubakar, came on board, by year 2009, when we established Nupe Foundation, we decided through the Board of Trustees decision to come up with Nupe Day, which is an annual event, 26 June of every year. Now, we derive that date back from the time we defeated the European soldiers at Ogidi, like my colleague said earlier on. And that was in 1876 at Ogidi, which is in Kogi State. That's why we derived that 26 June date. And every year we celebrate it. We do rotation in the sense we pick chairman of the occasion and committee members drawn from around the kingdom, Kogi, Kwara, Niger, and even some of them that will have the opportunity to come from diaspora are also included. And one of the objectives of Nupe Day Foundation is to bring up 3 or 4 items on focus. One, we select among the sons and daughters that have achieved a level of, in their endeavor, in order to serve as an example for the younger generation. And the final grand finale, which is usually held in Bida, which is more or less the headquarters of the Nupe Kingdom, they are being turbaned. They are being given traditional titles and turban. And for any Nupe man to be turbaned, definitely you have to show an exemplary behavior, not a nasty one, of course. It has to be a positive, attitude that will show the younger ones he has been known for this, and that's why he's been recognized by giving a particular title. I give you a typical example. One of your, staff who has retired but is still very active in the service of NTA is Kudu Abubakar. He is Damascene Nupe. And Damascene by name, by definition, you know what it means. It has to do with understanding of, political and social, knowledge of contemporary issues. So on that day, we display the way and manner we greet, the way and manner we dance, the way and manner we do so many other things. And we invite not only Nupes, we invite everybody to come and watch and see what we have to display as a Nupe man and woman. Very, very conspicuous day. We are always looking forward to it. We invite traditional rulers from other states. Again, we also have on that, within the framework of the Nupe Day celebration, agricultural show. Here we allow our farmers to display our agricultural produce, the best of the best that you can get in Nupe land. And this has been very, very advantageous because it allows the farmers to demonstrate, I produce the best cassava from Agge local government. No, the best rice, the best quality rice is from Patigi. These are the kind of thing we are bringing on board. And for the foundation to achieve a very, very landmark, we decided to put an economic committee to actually go into the possibility of oil exploration, oil and gas exploration. Because, nearly all of us live within the river basin. And it's known and has been tested with some of the activities that is going on there now. NNPC has actually come up to say you can find, there is oil and it is on large scale quantity. So the foundation is actually to bring an awareness to the younger ones, and the older ones through our traditional rulers definitely are doing very much to put this in place for the younger ones to emulate. We are very, very happy that our traditional rulers, highly respected people, those are people that we listen to them. When we have problems, we get to them, and they are never biased. Thank you very much.
All right. Let's return to Honorable Baba Shehu. You initially gave us a background of your culture. and how you have gone in marketing such culture using different formats. But I've been trying to ask this question of how we can have a cultural mix in this country, because the fact that different regions don't understand each other is because of cultural differences. And in Nigeria as a nation, of course, it has been so difficult for Nigeria to even develop a lingua franca, a local lingua franca, which could be, a language spoken in all the regions. That has been very difficult to achieve. Now, what can be done going forward to ensure that Nigerians, will become more sensitive to what is theirs than relying wholeheartedly on the Western world? It has affected not only culture, with technology, and the other aspects of our life. So we depend, honestly, more than 90% on foreign countries for anything that we want to achieve. So there's no believability among Nigerians and within Nigeria as a nation. So going forward, I also like you to add the role, or what should be the role of traditional institutions and other constituted authorities, social organizations, which of course are everywhere in Nigeria. What should be their role in this fight to return ourselves to where we belong culturally?
Thank you very much, Mr. Clearing. Indeed, like you put it, all our traditional ends within the Nupe Kingdom, they have been working day in, day out, having restless days and sleepless nights to bringing forth the unity of Nupe Kingdom. And the target is that very soon, Nupe culture should be the best, not even second to best culture in the nation. By and large, sir.
Are you going to colonize other cultures?
By and large,
it's going to give you a new job.
We are looking forward to seeing how we make projections, how the economy of Nupe Kingdom will improve from the state it is now. For example, we have development of Barrow Port. This Barrow Port in late 50s to early 60s, it was very, very functional. I saw it live. Like my hometown, Agay, Barrow is in my local government. If you see the pyramids of granite, cotton, and other commercial goods that are being dropped in Agay. One, it provides labor for all the people that are within the environment and those people that are coming to making it. Then it allows the import-export exploitation from that Barrow Port, because from Barrow Port you can go to anywhere in the world in those days. And materials are coming in, dropped, come inland, and even these pyramids I'm telling you, they are being exported to Europe, Americas, what have you. Number one. Number two, like my colleague just put it, the hydrocarbon. The NNPC has confirmed that about 8 local governments within the Nupe enclave, that is Agay, Lapai, Kacha, Patigi, Lafiagi, about 8 of them, they have large quantity of hydrocarbons and they are preparing to exploit them. So you see that when all these things are down, it will not only boost the economy of the nation, of the country, but the surrounding, it will look competitive to those who have been enjoying all these facilities. Lastly but not least, the Nupes have been yearning for creation of state. And I could tell you vividly that we almost had it. Because that time I was a deputy house leader of the House of Reps. I coordinated the principal officers and our colleagues in the House, the same thing in the Senate. And that we got within a twinkle of eye bleach. But national policy at that time could not allow us to scale through. So my thinking is, if this Nupe enclave, which the landmass area only is more than Bayelsa State, this could be harnessed. It will give us economic booster. Not only.
I was just wondering, Honorable Agai, while you are on this, I mean, how do you factor the latest pursuit that life, of course, has to go beyond oil?
Thank you very much. Like I told you, the Nupe Kingdom, their life support, the genesis of their life is agriculture. And like my director here is talking about the culture too. If these are well harnessed, go to Brazil. I was in Brazil several times watching their culture, whatever. And Brazil of today, they are self-reliant on this cultural whatever that is done annually. You know the intakes, he knows most of the details I'm talking about. Secondly, the agriculture aspect of our nation, we call Nigeria, if well harnessed, we forget about oil exploration because this is where we started. I spoke earlier about the pyramid of granite, cotton. Those were the monies we used to explore all this oil and gas we have all over the place now. So why can't we go back and improve all these lots we have on the ground?
All right, Honorable. Well, that's a very good explanation you did, but we're going to come back to you. And we're also going to look at how our culture can become a source of revenue. How do we survive using our own culture, and create a resource-based culture, whether it is a possibility. Because like I said earlier on about the movie that we watch on TV coming from India, it's designed to show the culture of the people. Even the kind of dressing that you see there are no longer being used in India, in the cities, if you like. But they still bring it back, for the world to see what they're known for and all that. So at this point, we're going to take a short break. When we come back, the conversation continues. Stay with us.
Wetin be this coronavirus thing? Na true?
You see this coronavirus, wey be COVID-19, na the whole world palava. And it don't they kill many people for China, Italy, UK, US, Spain, and even for other countries them.
Okay, wetin come be the reason wey dem say make everybody tanda for house?
Na because if they waka pium go carry am from person wey don't get am, you go carry come give your family them. Now so the thing take they kill other people for other countries.
Okay, wetin come be that social distancing self?
You see social distance. Now make we no come close, because this thing now from air and touch now with the contact. We suppose they at least 6 foot away from each other every time.
So okay, no be only to wash your hand and to sanitize them alone.
Make we not take this washing of hand thing take play, but make we come together, join hand as we take pursue Ebola, pursue this coronavirus. Make we be each other keepers now.
Continue their fight against relegation when they host the Premier League Live. Is brought to you by Access Bank and Baba Ijebu.
Nigerians, coronavirus is dangerous. It can kill. When you see this sign, high fever, cough, shortness of breath, drowsiness, pneumonia, don't panic, don't hide, don't embark in self-medication. Promptly visit the nearest medical facility. Report all cases to the nearest hospital. Prevention is key. Avoid contact with infected persons. Avoid crowded areas as much as possible. Wash your hands regularly. Use hand sanitizers. Your life is precious. Stay alive. Live long, live right. This message is sponsored by the Federal Ministry of Information and Culture and the Nigerian Film Corporation. Nigerian Film Corporation, powering possibility.
As a strong immune system increases the chances of victims surviving COVID-19, a corruption-free society creates opportunities for citizens to thrive and prosper. Build your immunity. Stop corruption now. Report all acts of corruption to ICPC on this toll-free number 0800 2255 4272. This message is brought to you by ICPC and NTA.
The number of the COVID-19 cases in Nigeria is increasing daily, with many more tests ongoing. The battle of testing, isolating, treating, and attending to the affected persons rests heavily on the shoulders of our health workers, constantly putting their lives on the line and at risk to contain this virus, save and protect the lives of millions of Nigerians. To these health workers, we at the Nigerian Television Authority, NTA, on behalf of millions of Nigerians, say a big thank you for all that you have done and are doing. To the security agencies enforcing the lockdown and every other frontliner, we say thank you for putting your lives on the line to save ours. There is no amount of words that can quantify our gratitude. Thank you. This message is brought to you by the Nigerian Television Authority, NTA, Africa's largest television network.
All right, you're welcome back, and it's still Good Morning Nigeria live on the network service of the Nigerian Television Authority. Now, let's return to Professor Menegbe, who is with us via Skype from Lokoja, Professor of Theatre Arts at Prince Audu Abubakar University in Ayimba, Kogi State. Prof, one aspect, I mean, it turns out that amongst our guests this morning, we have two advocates of Nupe culture, but certainly there are other cultural groups in the country that will benefit from the issues that they are articulating this morning. I just want us to, and you're responding to this now, to see whether we are sufficiently harnessing aspects of our culture to actually drive national development. I'll give you this example as a lead and you take it from there. Senator tells us that tomorrow is Nupe Day, June 26th. And June 26th was specifically chosen as a day to mark that event in which the Nupes defeated the colonial invaders. Now, that's valor. Have we, either in that environment or indeed elsewhere, sufficiently harnessed that to say, okay, as part of our attribute of valor, we will extend this, for instance, into the world of sports? And if you are going to have to develop sports, you need to build stadia, you need to have training facilities and so on and so forth. That's part of the way you drive development. In some other parts of the country, there are good horse racers and persons, you have Durbar being organized. But how many jockeys do we have? That's the people who compete in horse racing, equestrian sports. How many of them do we have from those parts of the country where horses are part of the cultural takings? And say, fine, I'll go to a world stage, you compete, you bid all kinds of things, and these are huge revenue earners. Have we sufficiently done this? And if we haven't, what do we need to do?
Thank you very much. The key word there is sufficiency. The key word is sufficiency. And that's where I'd like to step back a bit and respond very briefly to what Otumba spoke about. You see, if you step into the bathroom and you want to bath, the first thing you do is to strip yourself naked. You cannot be wearing your clothes and you say you want to take bath. The key thing is sufficiency. we have not taken sufficient action. And that is where we are deficient. We have institutions that have been put there by government to help us drive our culture. But are they doing enough? That is a big question. We cannot restrict ourselves to annual cultural jamborees and think that we are promoting our culture. It goes far beyond that. I will be happy to attend the next jamboree that Otumba spoke about. And as I come for that, I will come with one of my recent publications, which is a product of an international conference that was organized by the Faculty of Arts and Humanities of my university under my chairmanship as a dean. And that book is Globalization, the African Perspective. What we are talking about, the key thing is sufficiency. Sometimes, unfortunately, you find square pegs in round holes. You have so many challenges. And we see that instead of moving forward, we begin even to move backwards. I must appreciate the efforts that people and institutions are making to bring alive our culture. I must do that. But the key word is this sufficient? Are we going to be doing that through cultural jamborees? Or we are going to go down to the roots of it? And I think we need to take deliberate actions. And I don't think we need to defend ourselves. Where we have failed, we have failed. Where we have not done enough, we have not done enough. Back to your question, sir. Are we doing enough to use our value as a springboard for national development? I don't think that we are doing enough. I must also appreciate the efforts of people like the current Etinupe, who has, he has tirelessly used that value as a kind of a motivational factor for all the Nupe sons and daughters wherever they are found. And by the way, I hope you know that there are some groups, like we have in other tribes. You have your Yoruba, you have the Ogumosho and all that. That is the same thing with the Nupes. We have subgroups, and the Kakandas, the Kupas, the Basanges, and all the rest of them. And the current foundation under the leadership of of the Etinupe is trying to use, trying to use the value of the Nupe culture as a springboard for development in all aspects of our lives, be it in agriculture, be it in culture, be it in entertainment. And for example, our children are still using earrings. We men, are we succeeding in passing down our culture to them if our children are still using boys are using earrings? Are we doing enough if our schools are still importing fabrics from outside the country, school uniforms? Are we not aware of the cultural tourism that is around the world, where if, for example, the Nigerian wants to relax, he decides to go elsewhere apart from Nigeria, he will not even go to Yankari Games Reserve. Neither will he go to Buduran. He'll be thinking about places outside Nigeria. That is an indication that we are not doing enough. And I don't think one particular person can be held responsible for that. It's an institutional, it's a systemic failure, it's a national failure. And we have to look up, we have to brace up to it and take steps to make sure that we actually begin to measure up and even supersede other nations. We can do it if we are honest with ourselves. We can do it if the actions, our activities are carried to the grassroots. For example, the cultural institutions, do they have presence in the local government areas? Even in the states, do they have a presence? Is their influence being felt? It's not an issue of jamborees. It's an issue of a deliberate and a constant and consistent action, focused plans and decisions that we pursue diligently and intelligently to make sure that our culture serves. I must tell you, we are behind, and we cannot continue to be behind. For example, the issue of the gallantry of the local people. I have watched the races. I've watched the exhibitions. I've watched the talks. I've been involved in this for almost 10 years, and I must say that it's been well carried out, and that can also go to the national level. It can go to the national level. Even in sports, for example, you can see the way that, especially in football, the way that our boys started to shine and dominate the sports world. It's valor. It's valor. And we can still do more. The issue is sufficiency. Are we doing something? Are we doing it sufficiently well enough that it will have an impact upon generations just born? I tell you, if we don't step up our game, the way we are going, our culture is going to be one of those that may go extinct. But God forbid, I know that via interactions like this, we are going to sit up, and the valor aspect of our character. I was at Ogidi, that particular place that the Nupes defeated the colonialists. If the first time I heard it, it was wonderful. So I went there and I saw the people, and I saw the battlements and all that. It actually happened. It's not a matter of priding, the Nupe people priding themselves that they have not been conquered, they have defeated Europe. It happened. I've been to that place, and I stayed in that community for research for more than 1 week. In fact, the traditional ruler of that community has now become a close friend, although he's much older than myself. So we are people of valor. We are people of valor. See the way we excel anywhere and everywhere we go. In education, in science, in technology, in whatever field we excel, we need to consciously build this into the educational system. And I'm happy that currently I saw the curriculum for culture, and I was impressed. But what about implementation? What about recruitment of staff that will implement this cultural revolution that we are looking for? What about consistency? What about supervision? What about resources? You know, it's so, how do I say, it's pathetic that Nigeria will not want to sink her money in the right place. We give peanuts to where our budget is supposed to be funded heavily. We give peanuts, even in education, even in culture, even in most aspects of our national life. Where we are supposed to invest heavily, we invest peanuts. If you invest peanuts, how do you expect yourself to harvest bountifully? Because it is what you garbage in, garbage out. It is what you plant that you reap. So I think that it's a wake-up call, and we have to begin to deliberately use the valor of our people to as a springboard for national development in areas.
Right. Thank you, Prince Abubakar Aldu. Thank you indeed. Professor, sorry about that. I think I can feel your energy. You know, I can feel your energy and the passion with which you are explaining things out this morning. I actually cherish it. But I'd like to bring in Otumba here because he's been in the saddle of the promotion of culture in this country for a very long time. Otumba, he raised a number of issues here. You know, cultural jamboree. Where does it take us to, and what have you? So, what do you say to that?
Well, let me first and foremost say, Professor may not understand one or two things. They're not really jamborees. They are a platform of different states of the Federation meeting to interact the cultural differences, which has paid a lot to us. But what Prof mentioned here today that I think I'm highly impressed of is in terms of having enough resources. With due respect, let me use Dubai as an example. And again, let me recall the bomb blast in London in 1972. The British government brought out $3 million to get back tourists to London. Prof did mention today that really we need to get enough funding to get things going on. It is true, but you know, for a very long time, some of these sectors were not properly managed. Until recently, we're bringing it to the forefront that, look, this is what can change the economic strength of our country. Like Isley did mention earlier on that, in terms of development, we could use this sector to develop the nation. For instance, in the last 6 months, NCAC have trained over 10,000 youths in terms of skill acquisition, waste to wealth. It is true, we cannot go away from that. But what Prof should know, we need to commend NTA. This kind of platform is what will help us to understand each other and appreciate what we can bring on the table. For instance, COVID-19 has come. We can't be complaining. A man who is wet cannot be complaining that it's raining. We are already inside. So what the way forward in terms of development? And that's why this sector is about crowd. We need to think outside the box now. No more crowding. There's social distancing. Whether we like it or not, for the next few, maybe months or a year, whatever it comes to pass, how do we sustain this sector and this industry with COVID-19? And that's why I mentioned earlier on, we have come up with a blueprint which will help us. Look, all the artists, all the theater people, they are now jobless. We can't keep them jobless. We need to develop this country. What do we do? And that's where we're coming in, that you can sit down.
What are the aspects of the blueprint that you've developed?
Yeah, very good. For instance, you can come in and watch the same theater performances you used to watch, right? Without coming out from your cars. That's one thing we've done. Now, on Saturday, my agency will be launching cultural virtual tour of Nigeria. You can sit down in the comfort of your home and watch the entire cultural content of Nigeria in 40 minutes. It has never happened before, and first of its kind in Africa. We have to think outside the box now. How do we engage these artists? How do we get them? They're all jobless right now. So I agree that we need more funding, like Prof mentioned, but we also cannot run away from the fact that we need a center for interaction culturally with different states so we can communicate better.
Yes, intercultural relationship.
Absolutely.
Which is one of the questions I've been asking since we started.
Yeah.
Now, we have some tweets here this morning. Dr. Solomon says the role of culture in increasing green jobs, reducing poverty, making cities more sustainable, providing safe access to water and food, preserving the natural resources such as forests, and strengthening the resilience of communities in the face of disasters is truly very sacrosanct.
All right, Chris Simeon says parents, schools, and religious bodies should inculcate cultural beliefs in the lives of our children that will help them in building better societies in future, thereby promoting socio-cultural development. Culture promotes national development, but in a heterogeneous society like Nigeria, it could also be a source of friction among different ethnic groups.
Akejo Olabaju, it is time to explore the arts and science in our culture to promote tourism in Nigeria. The agro-tourism is one of such and can create millions of jobs in rural areas. The Honorable Minister should give this and other initiatives a consideration.
Titus Monday Nok, it says the antecedents of our cultural heritage, such as those of Benin, Ife, Nok, and a host of others, have been relegated because we are so obsessed with Western culture and we have allowed greed and material acquisition to dominate the moral and social space.
Law Alpha says culture is an integral part of national development when properly harnessed and applied. It's unfortunate that our traditional culture of integrity and selfless service, etc., have been jettisoned because political governance has been polluted by greed and self-aggrandizement.
Ibrahim Bello says there is a saying in Yoruba that any river that forgets its source will dry up. Our cultures are our heritage, and holding on to our culture eases our pathway to development. Countries like China and India never drop their cultures, so they are moving on very fast.
Festus Akimboye, our government at all levels should partner with the private sector to invest in culture and cultural projects to boost our economic development and community cohesion. There's no doubt that participation in culture and sporting activities improves physical, mental health, and well-being of people.
Amabala Babs, no culture in over 250 ethnic groups in Nigeria supports or promotes moral decadence. All of our cultures are as diverse as we are, promote human dignity as a way of also fostering national cohesion, unity, and brotherliness. The federal government must therefore ensure promotion of civic education.
Mutana Farouk, he says the strength and unity in diversity is a sine qua non to national development. What breaks a nation can also build a nation in other way when it is effectively and efficiently managed in a justiciable manner.
We have Eno Ayuk. It says, with the right political mindset and history giving priority in our educational system, our cultures could be used as a veritable tool for national development.
Okay, Usman Banukantu, it is true that culture is a veritable tool for national development, but in a country like ours, where religion is very much rooted, it may be difficult to achieve national development through culture because of the fact that religion's beliefs are not in terms with culture.
Now, Steve Bond, 07, says culture cemented with language is a total way of life of a people. Unfortunately, Nigerians neglect their culture. In fact, some parents don't even speak their language to their children. Hopefully, they will realize they aren't Europeans or Americans.
Onyebuchi Ezenwa says our culture promotes decency, obedience, and people and the law of the land. I strongly believe that traditional and community leaders have major roles to play.
Nsima tweet says globalization has greatly impacted cultural growth, and I think one way of retooling our culture for national development is to introduce culture-based curricula in schools and also adopt a national cultural policy. There is a national cultural policy, I believe.
Yeah,
yes.
Dr. Bangida Mohammed says the snobbish attitude of many Nigerian elites towards culture is killing our collective cultural heritage in Nigeria. They think modernism is all it, and often feel entirely inferior about cultural things.
All right, so those are the tweets that we can accommodate in the meantime. We will, of course, thank you for sending in your tweets. I just wanted to, because Ogidi has come up in terms of the Nupe Day as June 26th and what happened. What is the state of Ogidi itself? Is it a tourist attraction? I mean, Otumba Rushewe himself was earlier involved in the tourism industry, and culture, part of what he's doing, is also part of tourism. How developed is Ogidi itself, and what cultural affinity, as it were, do the Nupes have to that particular location or that particular environment? To say, for instance, I mean, this is with the greatest respect to the Nupe people, say tomorrow, for instance, we're going to have a parade of our Nupe people at Ogidi. What's Ogidi like now? I understand, of course, there is also Ogidi in Anambra State, yes.
Honestly, it's very pathetic if you go to Ogidi today. And it's most unfortunate. And I'm saying this so that it will turn to be a challenge for our government. There are so many monumental, spots or areas or historical, places in Nigeria that we need to protect. And we are not doing anything about it. And going beyond, these festivals is more than just a jamboree. If you take, for example, Patigi Regatta, in many years, used to be an international event where you have most of the personalities, state governors, ministers would be in attendance. Why we don't even have at that time facilities to make the comfort what it should be? They was all there because of the enthusiasm and the interest. And such a regatta embraces, fishing festival is involved, agricultural displays are involved, the calabash, so many other things. And this is an historical regatta that started since 1953. And it used to be an annual event. Federal Ministry of Information and Culture is doing nothing about this kind of festivals. If you look at even Arigungu, there should be more to it than just the way we are looking and staging it. These are international festivals that economically, if well developed, believe you me, will become more than what you think of tourism.
All right, sir. The last Argungu Festival, I think they added value to that, because they developed a kind of a market, that also, well, not just fishing, but other local items for tourists to appreciate, wares, jewelries, local ones, from Nigeria. So they added value, and of course it will be necessary for that to continue. At this point, we'd like to sign off this program by appreciating you for being here.
There's something I need to correct, if you don't mind. Quickly.
2 seconds.
I don't mind, 2 seconds. You see, with what distinguished just mentioned, really, the state government have a role to play before making any festival international. I am a title holder from Arugungu. We're part of bringing Arugungu back. But what normally happens is the state government must first and foremost bring it to the table for us to interact.
And show interest. The government should show interest in that. So the DG of the National Council for Arts and Culture, Otumba Olusegun, it's been a pleasure. Thank you. The Danmasani Pategi, Ahmed Baba, Zuruk. Did I get that? Zuruk?
Zuruk.
All right. Okay. It's been wonderful talking to you this morning. And of course, Honorable Baba Shehu Agie, the Walikin Agai. Thank you, sir, for honoring. Thank you indeed. And of course, we had the Professor of Theatre of Arts, Prince Abubakar Audu, University, Ayamba, Kogi State, who reached us via Skype. Thank you so much for being here this morning. And this is how we conclude today's edition of Good Morning Nigeria on the network service of the NT. Join us again tomorrow for more on this platform. My name is Kirian Umayo. Have a great day.
And I'm Kingsley Osadolo. I'd like to, of course, join my colleague in thanking you for being with us. The program returns tomorrow, same time, 7 o'clock in the morning. Until then, stay safe. Be well.